All right, I'm trying to get the brightness going here. Doesn't look like I'm going to be too successful with doing that. I am kind of annoyed because yesterday I wanted the stream to be at least 40 or 50 minutes long as I usually have, and that turned out to not be the case because I had some unexpected company. So, um, I will maybe do another stream about Yamcha either Saturday or Sunday, just kind of in place of that one because I do think the points were made, but it wasn't the length I would like, which means I'm going to push back the other one I had planned later for a second. Um, but anyways, let's do a little bit of a flashback. So during the previous presidential election, no rocket, who is that? No rocket strike. I am against the people spamming this hashtag on Twitter. Anyways, let me. Can't even speak. Before someone's like, "You're against Sanders," after all the pro Sanders videos I did. Anyways, let me do my little flashback. So during the previous election cycle, you had a bunch of people who were disenfranchised with the Democrats after Sanders lost the primary or was cheated out of the nomination, whichever way you choose to refer to it. I choose to say the latter. Um, and so they started putting hashtag Never Hillary because they weren't going to vote for her in the general election. Um, and a lot of her supporters were saying stuff like, uh, you, you you're handing the election to Trump, even though if she was actually as appealing, because this is the sad reality of just political candidates. If you run under either major party, whoever the nominee eventually is, they will get most of the people who voted for you in the primary. Even when 25% of Hillary's voters in 2008 went to McCain, that's still another 75%, the overwhelming majority that went to Obama. So, at the end of it, only 12% of Sanders supporters backed Trump, and then there was another percentage that went to third party people. Point is, the majority still voted for her anyway, but they got upset over this because she lost, and they were bitter. Um, so during this election cycle, literally from before Sanders even announced he was running, I can still remember because I was on Twitter at the time, prior to my account getting shut down for opposing a war. Uh, all of these dumb tweets where people were saying Sanders better not get in this race because I'm not voting for him. Making these kind of like weird proclamations again against the man who wasn't even in the race yet. That there was actually some thought that he might not run. There was just that little brief possibility because he took, comparatively speaking, a while to announce. It was like what, towards the end of February, and that was after we had Harris announce and Booker and Warren. It was a while. So they started sharing this hashtag, the Never Bernie one, before he even gets in the race. The day that he gets in the race, the hashtag, it doesn't do as well as Bernie 2020, but it still is kind of making the waves because all these people who are butthurt are spamming it again. And it was really funny because I said before, when people opposed Clinton, they opposed her on some policy difference. So you had people who made reference to her calling black super predators or supporting NAFTA and other trade deals that outsource jobs to different countries, backing pretty much every war between her husband's tenure and Obama's tenure. Just there was a whole bunch of stuff that we mentioned in respect to our distaste for her as a candidate. But when I was looking at a lot of the Never Bernie stuff, it was basically people just having a problem with him as a person. Like, oh, he's the reason she lost the election because apparently it's against the law to run against another candidate in a primary. I thought that was the whole point of primaries. You're supposed to run against somebody else. But they were spamming this hashtag around. And unlike when people did that for the Never Hillary one, they didn't talk about any policy-based critique. I even mentioned that when I was on Twitter, there was a disgruntled Hillary supporter this stupid chick, but I had to give her credit because she was the only one out of all of them. It was somewhere of the hundreds or whatever who actually spoke about opposing Sanders from a policy-based perspective. So she was talking about why single payer wouldn't work, even though it works in Sweden and Denmark. And there's just a complete buffoon, right? But at the very least, she was actually talking about what he proposed. And it was funny because she had said to the other anti-Sanders people, "How the hell can you support someone like Harris or Booker or any of these other people when they are literally embracing Sanders' positions on a majority of issues?" And that was something that kind of came to a head for me this past Saturday, or rather, yeah, it was yesterday. Because yesterday morning, Harris announced in a video on Twitter that she was endorsing Biden, and this was someone that when she critiqued in the first Democratic debate, you had people writing. I'll read your comment in a moment, Ruth, but you had people writing how Biden was racist, he'd be a horrible nominee, Kamala 2020, all this stuff they were typing in support of her denouncing him in such a, you know, personalized manner. And to watch that same group of people now turn and say, "Oh yes, we're gonna have a Biden Harris ticket, and we're gonna get that Sanders out of here." Like you're the same people who were talking about how racist this man was just a couple of months ago, and now you're gonna embrace him. Okay, let me read Ruben's comments. I like that Tulsi supporters forgot that Tulsi Gabbard also said she will bow down to Joe Biden if he wins. The Hillary Clinton 2008 campaign started the birther claims about Obama. Oh, I know that uh, a lot of the left wing and right wing attacks on some of these candidates kind of are the same thing because Trump put out his preview or his campaign spokesperson. They previewed that they're going to go after Biden on trade, and that's something that Sanders has done and should continue doing. But the point is that these people are weak across the board because with Sanders, all they can do is cry about the cost of something, which again, if it was so costly, we wouldn't have it in other countries. Um, and then call him a socialist for 6 months straight with the hope that that works. What I'm saying is they've already attacked him with their best, and it just it's nothing. So my point is that Sanders, and when they make this little stupid electability argument, I can think of 10 or 15 different ways they could go after Biden, and the same three, four, five for Bernie are just not only are they played out, but they're stuff that they're gonna like. They called Clinton a socialist. They called Obama a socialist. Like I actually have a clip of Cruz. He was making a joke, but he was like, "The socialist and Bernie." Like it. My point is that every Democrat now, from the perspective of the Republicans, at least the ones that are running, are socialist. So I don't understand how they can try to make this term seem like it's this scary thing when it's literally being used on all of your candidates, no matter what their positions actually are. NBC is demanding for even more censoring against social media to cover up for Joe Biden's failing health. Well, they're not going to get their wish because they can't control the YouTube or any of these other websites that allow us to speak our minds, or even hell, even Twitter. Because Twitter, the thing about them is if enough people complain about something, they can't silence everybody on there. Like when I was just one person complaining about all these candidates backing Israel and the rest of that stupid foreign policy mess, they can't go after everyone for that. Meanwhile, the communists I talk to are outraged because Bernie is not a socialist. They're stupid. I wouldn't talk to him if I felt that way about it. That's why I told you I don't even, for the most part, engage in any political discussions anymore because it's just people saying things from emotion as opposed to logic or reasoning. Hey Ruben, I know you might just find this redundant, but let's not forget a user that spammed 17 comments to me after I said I didn't want to debate it. Again, I'm bringing it up because it's all part of a pattern where you kind of just accept that people do certain stuff or have particular views, and then their own lack of acceptance causes those kind of things to go off. Like there's a certain commentator who is right wing, but they're not. like, you won't see them make a video about, like, why single payer is horrible or why we should stay in a war. They're right wing on a lot of social issues, um, and they'll walk around with the Trump hat just to piss people off, and that would never bother me because it's just a hat. I'd rather somebody wear a hat than, you know, announce their support for staying in Afghanistan for another year. Just it's that kind of stuff where it doesn't. You just have to have a thicker skin with some of these the aspects of the new culture of debating things and whatnot. But yeah, the reason that hashtag is so obnoxious is because you will never see any of the anti-Sanders people not only critique him on a policy-based substance, uh, but also they'll run people who steal his positions. But again, you don't trust them because they've only started recently discussing this. Like I mentioned before, um, during the primary, that when Harris was still in it, that she was a snake when it came to healthcare because in California we had a single payer bill in the state legislature the year she was running for Senate against, what was that lady's name, Sanchez, the representative, and she didn't say a word about it. It was completely just not an issue for her. And I was like, because I was making this point to someone, you can't have a solid chance of that legislation passing as a supposed enthusiastic supporter of that kind of system and not say anything about it. But see, she's a savvy politician, so she and Booker and Gillibrand, all the rest of them, caught on to the fact that a lot of the Democrats who liked Sanders liked single payer because it is popular within the party itself. So they decided to appropriate it into their positions, no matter how reversed it was from whatever else they backed. Told you we have more people who are upset with Sanders for running for president, which he has every right to do, than we have that are mad at Booker for taking 200,000 from the pharmaceutical industry right as he voted along with 10 other Democrats to deny a bill that would have made the cost of American medicine equivalent to that of Canada. But that's why I said people don't care about issues. They just want to be part of some group that has a hate boner for one candidate. And then if that person wins or loses, they cry about it for another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years on Twitter. And then they go and find someone else to cry about after that's over. I guarantee you, whenever Trump leaves office, whether it's after this election or in another, which if it's Sanders, it'll be after this one most likely, but or during this one will be after. It'll be after this one. Then if it's Biden, it'll be another 4 years. I guarantee you, the same group of people who can't stand Trump are going to go and, like, if he's, let's say, post presidency, they're going to be just watching him, still leaving stupid comments on his Twitter because they're obsessed with him. And these people that are over here doing their little anti-Bernie thing, they're obsessed with him, but they're not obsessed with him because they hate single payer or they're pro-war or they don't like the Green New Deal. Because a lot of them actually on their same pages, if you go and look through it, will have AOC on there, who I think is overrated, but that's besides the point. Um, you get the idea that they'll have her and these other progressive people, and you'll just be sitting there scratching your head trying to figure out, how the hell does any of this work? Like, you don't embrace the person that got her into politics, but you embrace her, okay? Like, I don't embrace Clinton and I don't embrace his mentor Fulbright, the senator from Arkansas, because I'm aware of the connection between those two and I don't like either one of them. You get the point that I've never seen something where you have the mentor getting crapped on, but then the successor who has a very similar ideology, just, yeah, we love her. Booker just announced that he supports Biden for president. I'm not surprised. The Harris one actually just kind of bothered me because I'd say out of all the candidates, other than maybe Gillibrand, she tried the hardest to, like, go after Biden during one of the debates. So to have her come out and say, "Oh yeah, I support him and he has the leadership we need," and blah, 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 blah. You can tell, Ruben, that, like, if we just sat here, you could probably start naming what cabinet positions certain people got for their support. Like, that Buddha Trash, because he's no longer mayor, is probably going to end up being, like, I don't know, Secretary of Education or something, or Housing and Urban Development. Some issue that he doesn't actually care about. but that he can reap the benefits of from supporting this man. I told you all these politicians. I read your comment right now, but all these politicians seem to have the same thing where they get some group of supporters, and then they just whoever ends up being what's a good term for it, the most loyal, just gets rewarded so much. Probably Biden, Ruben. If she was smart, she'd endorse Bernie because then, if you play out the worst case scenario, she could actually have a little bit of respect from progressives, which would go a long way because Warren was like she basically destroyed the bridge between a lot of progressives and herself, but first by not endorsing Sanders in the last primary, and then now getting out after telling a lie story about him saying a woman can't win the presidency, and you get the point that she burned too many bridges. So this is probably the end for her. You won't see, if you do see her run for president again, she might come in like maybe 13th place or something. AOC got suddenly embraced by mainstream media yesterday when progressives got angry with her for cheering Lizard Warren's appearance in SNL this Saturday. Well, I told you, AOC is just another politician who you can like some of the views of, but they're too cozy with establishment figures. And that's something that progressives keep falling into. Like, remember, Sanders did a unity tour with Tom Perez right after the election, within the first couple months of Trump being in office. And what did it get him besides more stagnation and hatred from the same group of people who cheated him the first time? So this is how the game goes. They just they smile in your face, and then when they think you actually could take some money away from them, you become public enemy number one. I guarantee you, if AOC runs for president in another 4 or 8 years, or even longer, you are going to see the same stupid attacks where they take some little clip of her and say, "You said this 10 years ago, uh, and your Medicare for All plan cost $30 trillion." Just they'll do the same stuff, and it'll be kind of amusing in a way because she tried to play buddy buddy with these people, and now they're turning on her like we knew they would. Biden already announced a cabinet position for Deval Patrick. I thought it was done. I don't know if you remember, Ruben, the video that I did on him when he first got in the race, which by the way ended up being the only video I did on him because that's how insignificant his campaign was. Like you would honestly forget that he even ran. Let me see. Can't help it when being affiliated makes you feel comfy to take a back seat. Oh yeah, this is how this game works. When you win your seat and you think I'm gonna make all this change, you get Pelosi and the rest of those clowns going, "Oh, hey, how you doing? I agree with you on a couple of things, and maybe we can work together and blah 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 blah." Right? And then after that, they just nothing happens on your part for 2, 4, 6 years, and you just keep getting reelected because your district doesn't have enough people to actually pay attention to this stuff to really be bothered by it. Someone even did a video where they showed clips of AOC during her primary campaign against Crowley, talking trash about him. He hasn't done anything for this district. Blah. And then the clip right after that is her saying, I think he has been very. I was like, how do you know? Like with my congressperson, right? I would say I'm glad they've signed on to single payer, and I'm glad they're at least nominally against a couple of conflicts, but they're not outspoken about this. If you go on their social media, they're crying about stupid random stuff with Trump. Uh, they're not sponsoring any bills to get out of these. The point is that I can give credit where it's due, but also attack in some way that is kind of saying this person has gotten really comfortable with just having term after term of no one really paying attention to what they do, and then we could go from there. Let's see. I won't feel bad for AOC. I almost want to support Joey Salads instead. You won't feel bad. She burned enough bridges. First it was that thing with Facebook, and now it's her trying to be friendly with everybody. That seems to be the progressives' way of just doing things now. They try to be everybody's friend for no reason. Like we don't forget the guy that made that ad for Bernie. They got rid of him because people on Twitter were crying about it, and then Sanders unendorsed Jank after all those people were crying about it and made articles. Told you once you start apologizing for stuff that's not offensive, at least to people that actually matter, then you never stop. Yeah, we're not here to talk about the way she looks. If you want that, go to a politician beauty contest because most of these people don't look attractive at all. But again, that has nothing to do with policy. Unless it's Trump, then he's suddenly the most dangerous president of all time. Yeah, and like I said, they're the same stuff they're criticizing him over, they would say about Hillary. The only issue that he made worse that I have any kind of confidence she wouldn't have done is the climate. Everything else, you would have still been in 7 wars, might have actually been a couple more. And again, you can't even say that without someone thinking you're a closet Trump backer when you're just telling the truth. That all of the concerns about her getting into conflicts should not be erased. Go watch any of the general election debates or the primary debates. There was no question among any of the candidates that Clinton was going to keep staying in these conflicts. Oh, and also not, fundamentally change the US, which is basically what Biden is now proposing. So, Biden and Clinton have so much stuff that just overlaps. The only difference is that because Biden didn't have a vagina, I thought maybe these people would actually stop, playing this gender politics game. Because if you remember, Ruben, during that primary, you actually had people who were saying, "You don't like Clinton? Well, why do you oppose the first female contender for president?" Like what? Where they framed it all weird. They tried to make you sound sexist for not wanting to vote for her. Like you could name all these policy reasons, but I told you it's that same lazy mentality. So that's why you have people who now are saying that Harrison Booker didn't win because they're black, even though the same party they ran in nominated a black person not even 2 cycles ago. Now all the voters are magically racist. All those times they were polling at second and third. Well, Booker was always polling in the back, but all those times Harris was polling at second and third place. That was all for show. She didn't do anything to mess herself up. Told you that. It's just this is how this game works now. Everybody's lazy. They don't like think about anything. They don't like to try to reason or rationalize stuff in any kind of effective manner. If you lose, it's because of something that you had no control over, like your race or voice or gender or whatever. Yeah, I'm done. So I got the same 2 or 3 people that have been spreading that claim around like wildfire. Every time they get on the phone with someone, they didn't vote for Harris because these a lot of these voters are racist. Then why did they nominate a black person 8 years ago for reelection? Like no type of sense. That former Bernie guy that got fired from the campaign had a weird live stream yesterday where he was calling the Biden campaign about why he shouldn't be the Democratic candidate, and now mainstream media is outraged. What weird live stream? What was so weird about it? He was only making a phone call. People do all the time. They get pull their phone out, call up campaigns, tell them you have no chance of winning. So they're just being hateful. Ruben's being mean. He's mad that Sanders got attacked because of his what do you no relationship, his having to do with that person that made that commercial. That's all there is to it. But yeah, that same group that's running this little stupid hashtag, they're gonna they're gonna run it for everybody else. You're gonna see never AOC ones up there after a while. Oh, these little self quarantines been really funny. You actually have, let's see, it's been Cruz, it's been Gozer, it's been some other person. They're all self quarantining themselves. Oh, I met a coronavirus patient, so now I've got to stay at home. I've got to sitting on my couch and have an enjoyable time off of work. Yeah, I'm so ill. That's the best scam in the world, where you could just call it up, say, "Hey, I can't come to Washington this week. I got this virus, or I think I might have. I'm gonna stay at home for a week or two." I mean, when you look at Cruz's comment section, it's so embarrassing. Oh Jesus Christ! Oh, I just saw something really awful. Um, like, I remember he had the one bill that was supposed to put term limits on members of the Congress, of both the House and Senate. And for Senate, it was 2 terms. So you had people who were like, "Well, if you truly believe in term limits, aren't you going to only have 2 terms?" And then his supporters were answering for him. They're like, "No, he should run for as many as possible unless the bill actually goes into law." I'm like, "Well, that's the same kind of logic with Buddha Trash taking the billionaire money, where he's like, I oppose billionaires funding campaigns, but you know, we have to win." It's like, but you're supposed to show you can win by not doing that. Dingbats. I'm so glad that man's campaign is over. I can't bring up anything about physical health anymore without coronavirus getting brought. Of course, I mean this is basically Ebola 2.0. You remember in 2014 that you couldn't go anywhere without hearing about that damn disease. I thought that was a new disease for a while, and then I found out it's been around since at least the 70s. Has Castro? Yeah, he endorsed Warren. Remember, probably gonna endorse Biden or saying, I don't know. He might go either way, because it wasn't, he endorsed Warren right when she was kind of like fading out. So it might, he might be smart enough to not put his eggs in the, because my thing is he was already in the cabinet, so he probably is going to say, "Oh, I'll do this for Sanders, and then I can run again afterward." And maybe some of his supporters will be like, "Oh, you're that one guy who didn't stab him in the back." Biden leads Sanders by 24 points in Michigan. God, people are so damn dumb. I should make a parody Never Bernie account and just like share this on Twitter. Like, "Hey guys, look what I found." What's amazing is this virus seems most dangerous for basically 80% of Congress. Oh yeah, because they're all in their 70s and 60s. Yeah, they're, this might be the thing that takes out half of Congress. I don't even want to put, someone probably should go and like check out how many members are in the bracket age range for when this is supposed to go after people or affect them the most. It's probably the majority. Yeah, this is gonna be their first serious attempt at their lives ever. I remember when we had those people that were mad about the Republicans supporting Kavanaugh, the protesters, and you had some that would go to McConnell and then the Cruz when they were, eating dinner out somewhere with their respective spouses, and you had this one person going, "That's so rude. They should be able to eat in public and, not be treated that way." And I'm like, these people could easily get something from a fast food restaurant and go home, and that would be it. And no one is forcing them to go and sit out in front of the public where they can be heckled just like anybody else. The majority of people who have caught corona are world leaders. Yeah, because they're over there touching and surrounded by everybody. Imagine I catch it and then my next stream is like my little brother announcing my death. He's like, "Yeah, Justin won't be putting up any more videos. He passed yesterday." He's gonna be giving a eulogy written in crayon. Yeah, that the situation in Michigan is not looking good at all. This is a hell of a comeback. Everybody was talking about it. You had a man who we have all these clips of him losing his mind, and all these people are voting for. It's really something. Because again, even with Clinton having all the baggage that she did, I still don't think she was mentally insufficient. And like these are the same Democrats, literally, who kept telling us Trump is unstable, Trump is unstable, Trump is unstable, Trump is unstable. But then look who they're voting for. Millions of them vote for a man that we have a literal series of compilation videos of him losing his goddamn mind. That's why I still live in the Twilight Zone. Because like all these never Trump people, resistance hoes, they don't care about anything. They're just there to write some stupid stuff on Twitter for a couple of years, and then when it's time to actually do something serious, they just kind of drop the ball. Who will Eminem and Kevin Noah endorse for president? Two most prominent Michigan people that I know of. Yeah, we'll wait and see. Hey, remember Ruben when Beyonce endorsed O'Rourke right before the voting took place, and then he lost. Every time she endorses somebody, they always seem to lose. That was the joke I made. That like after endorsing Obama, it's like a kiss of death to get her endorsement. Yeah, it was hours before the race was over, like the same day as voting took place. She put up some picture with a Beto hat, or yeah, it was a hat, and then everybody was went out and ran, or supposedly came out in droves, and it still wasn't enough. Telling you, if the Senate Democrats were just even the least bit confident, they could have had Texas and Tennessee Senate seats, but they screwed up. It's crazy that people still think this is a democracy. No, it's not. It's an oligarchy. I bet you ask people what's the definition of a democracy. Like I still can't get over that video Jimmy did about maybe 2 or 3 months, not 2 or 3 months, maybe it was early 2017, like around the time Trump got inaugurated, where him and his wife went to vote for for the California Democratic Party chairman, and the progressive won overwhelmingly. But then they brought out the state superdelegates, and they won. He won from that. That's how you know that just it seems so impossible to make any kind of real dent with any of this stuff. Eminem should endorse Bernie to keep his working class image. These same Dems who, yes, Greta Thunberg children are our future, are yes mediocrity for no change Joe. Well, that's why I said that it's just a bunch of hypocrites, because when I was criticizing Harris, I mentioned, her having this really horrible past with locking up a bunch of minority people, particularly blacks. And it's like you'll go up to these voters and you ask them, do you think the system is rigged against minorities? And I guarantee you, most of the Democratic voters would say yes. But then they want to back a woman with that. Like, it doesn't make any, and it's not even, I could kind of almost get it if they would come out and say that the position was flawed. Because even Bloomberg did that, which I don't believe him when he said that about stop and frisk, because people know when you make an apology for something when you're running for president, it's usually because you want to try to swat the issue away, and then people go, "Oh, he said sorry." But they were backing someone who was involved with that same system while opposing that system. So they say one thing and then do the other, because they let the people who were in charge of that get away scot free. That's the funniest thing about the senators, man. They spend 6 years hauled up in their office or on TV, and then the only time you see them in person is like every 8 months or something when they they want to have one town hall a year, or if they are running for reelection and they want to beg you for money, which again they already get from all their donors anyway. That's the best part. Just like I guarantee you, if AOC ran against Schumer and she won, it wouldn't again would not be because of us having a fair system where the person who inspires the most, none of that. It's because she gets all that free advertising and media coverage. So more people know who she is than the incumbent, and they go to the ballot box and support her instead. Did Barbara Lee, hero of the anti-imperialist, for just that one vote, endorse someone yet? No. From what I've seen, she stayed neutral so far. You already know what they're doing. They're waiting for Biden to theoretically win every state or win most of the states, and then they'll come out and start showering him with endorsements. God, I just can't believe like I would have literally taken any Democrat over Biden. I would have taken Harris over him, Booker, Gillibrand, obviously, of course, Yang or Tulsi. Just anybody else. Like literally the worst person running is now favored to win. This is so stupid. And I just can't believe he actually got Minnesota because Sanders and Warren apparently split the vote. I mean, Super Tuesday was such a just lame event. Which is why I called it Stupid Tuesday when I did my analysis. Because you had all these people who came out and voted, and you got all excited. Oh yeah, progressives are gonna run away with this, and then so they're gonna keep playing that game. He'll win over Dems, but crash and burn. And yeah, I know that they're. This is what the point I was making. If you go look at that map where he won, Arkansas, Alabama, these are states, unlike Texas or Florida, that have absolutely no chance of going to the Democrat, no matter who it is. But he was bragging, see, my campaign can win in any kind of state. Yeah. So he's gonna fail to get any independence because again, he's just a status quo that they hate. And we'll see either it might actually be a lower turnout than the one for Hillary. Well, you know what? I won't say that because people are to some extent sick of Trump, but it's mostly left-leaning people from what I've seen because his approval rating has gone up. So he might get either just slightly more or less than Clinton. And then, here we go again. That reminds me, apparently the Democrats are still not through with impeachment. Yeah, they're talking about some other thing. Man, that's over. As far as we're concerned, that he got acquitted. They wasted their time. And they just showed how stupid they are. This stream is my birthday present. Oh, I didn't know. Happy birthday. Yeah, I was completely unaware. Okay, exactly. Sickening how fast the spin machine is turning into manufacturing enthusiasm for Biden. They're setting themselves up for an emotional repeat of election night. Man, when I saw all those hoes on TV crying, uh, I was just sitting there laughing because like how do I explain it? They had a woman that was crying when Sanders endorsed Clinton because I guess she realized at that point it really was over, his challenge to her. So when to see those same people who kind of told me and the rest of the progressives to shove it, lose, and be reduced to tears over a presidency that at best was going to just be a repeat of Obama's, if not worse, it was really comedic. That's why I said November 8th was election day, but November 9th was crybaby day. Everybody going boo hoo. And then who could forget TYT's coverage of that? Okay, so what is with these never burning morons? No, Music Fiend, I was talking about how the people who have been spamming that hashtag like it's candy, passing it around and whatnot, they make it seem as if they dislike Sanders for something that actually matters. But it's just them being bitter that he ran against their darling Hillary and falsely attributing his running against her for being the reason for her losing. And then the people that they'll support, and it's how you know it's not policy based, will be for single payer, the Green New Deal, every position Sanders has, right? They'll back it, but they want us to believe that there's something wrong with him. Okay, put Biden over Bernie, and they're going to get wrecked. Well, it looks that way because right now Biden's got I think a 20 something point lead in Michigan, which that really just it does infuriate the hell out of me because again, Biden doesn't even campaign anywhere as close to as Sanders does, and stuff like that just is allowed to happen. Like, what the hell is wrong with these voters? Like, I'm getting to a point where, and I get that we talk about how Sanders doesn't criticize Biden as well as he could, but even with him saying like the "oh, he's my friend" thing, you have Fox talking about how stupid Biden is, he's losing all his words. You have them talking about how corrupt his son is. You have them talking about his actual positions. Like, what do these people need? And again, it's going to keep reflecting. Well, Sanders must have a problem with independence, and it's like, no, it's the problem are the damn voters who support clowns who are going to get smashed in November because everything they stood for was against the working man, and everyone knows it. So much so that when they were in the primary with them, these other candidates, they were trashing them for the exact things that they're now ignoring. Michigan is one of the Midwest states. Yeah, that's what's so creepy. Not like Ruben. When Minnesota went for Biden on Super Tuesday, I almost wanted to turn my computer off because that's how it just outrageous it was to have people who supposedly got it, right? That understood the horrible position of whatever. Like literally Minnesota, which has the longest record of just voting for the Democrat in presidential elections because Reagan lost that state and it was only when he lost in '84, almost went for Trump in the general. And again, people said, "Oh, it's because they knew that Clinton was anti-worker, pro-free trade, all that stuff, right?" And now it's going for candidates who are the exact same thing, like literal replicas. That's what I said. Are just people like I put it this way. I do still kind of like am tempted to run against my congressperson, but if I lose, I'll take credit. How do I say this? I'll say it was my fault for not going to certain places, but other than that, because it's just people like they have these weird hangups. Like I remember when I would talk to this one clown who I've mentioned a couple of times. I'm not going to say what her nickname is, but you can probably infer who it is. She had mentioned how she thought Buddha Trash was too young. This is a guy who's literally about 4 or 5 years younger than the youngest president ever, and how Biden was like very experienced to too much or something because he had been with the establishment for literal decades. I'm like, okay, when you start doing that, I really don't want to hear you because you're saying a guy who's at best a couple of years younger than what the youngest person will ever was. Like, yeah, my point. It's just this like semantics crap that has nothing to do with it making anyone's life better. There's a seat in my town council open. I might jump in there. Oh, and then you're gonna disappear from my streams because you'll be at work every 2 seconds. I'm gonna pay for someone to run against you so they can propel you from being able to get the seat. Like they actually were talking about what would happen if Cenk won that seat and then he wasn't on the Young Turks anymore. Now we don't. Now we'll just always have that mystery that what if. Man, those stupid right wingers are getting on my nerves. Ha ha, 5%. It's like you guys won't even run. You're 0%. You don't even try. And you want to mock somebody for attempting. So I said people just they do a lot of cowardly stuff. Because I guarantee you, all of the never Bernie people, you won't see a single one of them ever concede the validity of the point I made, which is that they back people who literally duplicate Sanders' positions, but then they get surprised when I say they're empty and hollow and stand for nothing, just like the politicians they support. It's weird too because I haven't seen them really embrace. I already told you that like the only one who they kind of seem to also hate a little bit is Warren because they kind of consider her to be too friendly to Sanders. And even after she did her little snake betrayal lying thing, they're they're still not really playing with her that much, which is kind of insane because she endorsed Clinton without endorsing Sanders, and she campaigned for her. So that just shows you they don't care. They have no loyalty. Okay, worried about TYT because of their unionizing issue. Yeah, that seems like a legitimate concern in my opinion. Also, I'm not saying to be sarcastic. I was just logging on this account, so I wasn't looking at the screen. I wasn't staring into the black void of darkness where I have to hold the light up to half my face. Oh man. Yeah, Democrats are just they're like a backward species almost, just the way they think about things. Like, how do you have a party that supposedly is the one of the common man, and then all you do is run not only millionaire, like forget being a millionaire, right? But just people who continuously support all these free trade deals that outsource jobs to other countries. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like people are that stupid. You weren't staring into the near future of the Dem party. I mean, that's what it probably will be. I think what's going to happen when Biden, if he gets nominated, I already hate saying when, but I'd be lying if I said I was optimistic. If he gets nominated, he loses, and then the Democrats probably, if they retake the Senate, it's kind of like a bare minimum thing. But again, like when they run for president, they're just going to keep getting walloped because people are tired of this. Like you cheated Sanders twice now. See, we were told very early in the cycle, like if you watch some of the really early material that progressives made about the race, the reason they had all these other people running was so no one could get a plurality of the delegates before the convention, so then they could, pick somebody else. Uh, and so instead of going that route, because they saw Sanders was doing pretty well ahead of South Carolina, they decided we're all going to throw our shelves or our buckets in behind the first person who outright wins the state, and that happened to be Biden. And by the way, if I ever ran, and I don't think I will, but if I ever ran for president, I will never go to South Carolina. That's a waste of space state for me. That one, something corrupt is going on over there with the voters. They have some kind of neurological issue. You got all these people over there that are just doing terrible, and they want to back whatever. You get my point. Okay, Ruben says Democrats are more interested in reaching out to the never Trump neocon Republicans. Remember that clip of Schumer, Ruben, from the last election cycle? He was like, for every one Democrat we lose, we'll pick up three or four disgruntled Republicans. And then that didn't work because people vote by their party. That's why, like, when they were talking about how come the Republicans won't have a primary challenger for Trump, because they know you clowns are going to vote for him 90 or even higher than that percent of the time. Like, who the hell wants to run a race where there's only a 10% chance they can win, where only 10% of the voters are like, I might consider someone else. Told you, man. There's something really wrong with people in the U.S. Like it's a combination of learned helplessness and hypocrisy and um, goalpost. It's all of that together is making them behave this way, where they're voting for someone who is crappy on almost every issue, except maybe the environment, a couple of different social stuff, which again Sanders has been on as well, are better. Um, who slurs his words, which during a debate is going to get him mauled by Trump, and they just don't care. And this is after years of them pretending to be outraged and upset and so horrified that this man won, and they can't believe it and what's going on, all that stuff, just for this, for them to get an opportunity to actually not only get him out, but to change. I mean, like you look at, we were talking, and I had a stream a couple of days ago, and Music Fiend probably will remember this. I was talking about how the top contenders for the presidency, right? So Sanders, Biden, Trump. The only one of them you have heard speak about education at a time when you have one over $1 trillion in student loan debt is Sanders. That this major, massive issue that cripples people from being able to go out and actually buy things and give back to the economy. And the only person discussing it is the one who apparently at this point has the least chance of winning out of the three people that are still remaining on both sides. But like no one thought that was weird or strange. And that's how you know the voters, as long as they're not bothered by something, they don't care. Because I said before, I don't even have student loan debt. I just got, price gouged to continue my education because the school I wanted to go to had wanted 12,000 for 1 year, and I just like between the supposed responsible adults refusing to pay for that and also lowering it from 12,000 or from 30,000 to 12,000. It's just together, it wasn't enough, right? But I can still look at people who made the choice to same, I'm not even poor. Yeah, me neither, Music Fiend. But that's my point. That like every issue you bring up, these people have this weird thing where they basically say only people who are this are concerned about that. Like when I talked about the fact that you have over what is it, 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That's not me, but I still like I recognize that as being an issue that the wages are too damn low. That when they go around talking about this great booming unemployment and economy, blah, 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 it's all a big scam and lie to hide the fact that most of the things they're making are crappy paying positions that treat you like piss, both in the number of hours you work and the pay that you receive. But again, you don't see Biden with any kind of plan to increase the price because they don't care. They know that they just have to sit here and give you some fluff piece about restoring America to the way it was before, and then we'll be fine with that. Most of the voters, whoever either the Democrat or the Republican is, Biden or Trump, they're going to get millions of votes, people to vote for them just instinctually. Coupons, clippings, suburban Karen. Only the poor want Sanders. Oh, you should have seen. I'll never get over being on Twitter and having that guy basically question. And I told you when people question the statistic I mentioned, they can type it on Google and find the damn crap. But anyways, this guy questioned the validity of me saying that over 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, which is like seven. It's almost 80% actually. But he questioned that, right? And I got so pissed off when I was reading the stupid stuff he said because he said that all homeless people are there because of their own fault. There's no circumstance that caused that except for their own laziness or refusal. Just narrow-minded, short-sighted BS, right? I type his name in on Google, his little username. I find him begging for $300 to bury his parent, and like no one sees like this person lacks the self-awareness to know he is exactly what these people are. That's 60% of Americans that can't afford $1,000 emergency. That's him. But again, they don't care. They would rather fall for the scam than actually try to break it up. That's why I said I don't enjoy talking to a lot of people about this stuff because they find really stupid ways to get out of admitting the validity of points I'll make, and I don't have time for nonsense. You know, you want to ask a question, I'll answer it, but as far as a little back and forth thing, you can have that. No, I did. I wanted to laugh too, but I realized these are the people that are going to be the reason why this system stays in place because they are willful participants of something that's god awful. Like my best friend, for example, he's still in school. He still deals with the the stupid scam or whatever as I call it. But I wouldn't put that on him because he is doing what US society wants you to do. Oh yeah, you got to go to school to get a good paying job. Now, if he doesn't get one, I might actually be tempted to help him with paying for his debt if he has any, because that's someone that the system set up to fail. It fed him all this horse manure about how this position was going to magically come when he got this piece of paper and saved the day. So if that doesn't turn out to be the case, I'm not going to look at him and say you're the idiot. The idiot is the system that allowed that the system and the people that let that happen. Over 10,000 plus student loan debts. Yeah, and remember that these are kids with this stuff, people that are literally a year or two out of high school, racking up money they won't be able to pay off until they're middle aged, and no one thinks that's a problem. And we know they don't because the leading contenders for supposedly the most powerful position in the entire country, other than Sanders, aren't saying anything about it. I guarantee you, none of you can name one thing Trump has said about education since he took office. Not a word. I get the feeling finally was able to convince my sister to vote in the first, then vote for Sanders, took being stripped of Medicare, Bernie's, and hurting even with two jobs. Oh, Medicare beanies and hurting with two jobs. No, you can't, music fiend. You know you've never seen Trump talk about education. If he talked about education one fourth of the time as much as he talks about the wall or some immigration crap, we'll make it so good your head can spin. Yeah, will make you have so much damn debt you'll be wanting to fucking to spin a noose around your neck from how ridiculous, from how insane the scam is. That'll be my spin. I'm gonna say 30,000 in student loan debt. Man, where's my rope? Telling you, when I was really depressed over the employers because I actually you can go see the California's excrement employers. I'm gonna do a sequel to it probably this week. But the point of doing those is to show that you can have someone who applies to 20, 30, 40, 50 positions and they don't hear a single word back, or if they do hear something back, it's the person or people who are supposed to be employing going, thanks, but no thanks. And no one sees a problem with that. And that's why when Sanders was talking about a mandatory jobs program, I was like, who the hell would be opposed to that? Because they always say Sanders just wants to give you free stuff. If the position, even if it's guaranteed, you have to work for the damn thing. But that's why I said that I don't, with a lot of the smears that are directed toward them, it's people repeating these talking points without actually examining what the problems are of the US. Why is this man who you disagree so damn much with actually popular? Good point. Because he talks so much about immigrants, the white moderates feel like they're still allies, uh, is unimproved by policies. Yeah. And I told you that little unemployment record scam crap, that's meant to distract from the fact that the wages have been stagnant for 40 years. President after president, Congress after Congress. They had this clip of Joe Manchin. I'm thinking of doing a video on it. It's from a couple days ago. And he was like, if this bipartisan American energy bill passes, it'll be the first one in 13 years. I'm like, well, dingbat, you could have had the Green New Deal last year if you had voted for it, and maybe some other people that were not taking coal, taking all those donor coins from the coal miners, from fossil fuel. Mm, no, that's fine. I had some kind of. I mean, it still does kind of work the same way, unimproved by policies, unimpacted. But then when they are impacted, it ruins themselves. Israel's third presidential election, we forgot about that. What today? Exactly. Then. I ain't really been going in on Netanyahu. I've just been doing the road videos. I just realized people actually might have seen that title. This is just like what happened on April Fool's Day last year, the video was called "Why I Will Not Support Sanders." And again, it was a joke because it was April Fool's Day, and people were like, "Room was like, I just read the title and I got confused. I remembered the date." It was like, you think you're just gonna wake up one day and I'm gonna hate Sanders for no reason? It's gonna be like, I can't stand him now. After I woke up and realized my revelation, whatever the hell it was, I hate him. Like, no, I just don't. This is a joke. I mean, I know people are used to that because we've seen a lot of the people who supposedly like him switch over and hate him after a while, but I'm not one of them. I remember that Bakari Sellers clown off of CNN. Someone dug up a recording of him from the previous presidential election where he's like, if Sanders is the nominee, I'll definitely support him. He's such a great person. And then all these different clips afterward of just him just trashing him over and over again. Okay, Netanyahu announced Trump is his boy, but who will General Gantz endorse then? Uh, Probably Biden. I mean, you know that Biden's going to pretty much do the exact same Israel policy. Oh yeah, we stand with our ally in the Middle East, even though they kill a bunch of people for no damn reason other than just being demons. And whenever someone criticized the government, and that's really what's so bothersome about Sanders not getting support, because unless it's a Jewish person, you get called anti-Semitic, not even by regular people, by these clowns in the media for talking about a government. I'm gonna start doing that. Are you criticizing the American government, Ruben? Well, you must be anti-Catholic. I'm gonna do that now. If you criticize me, you're anti-Catholic. You hate Catholics now. That's gonna be our new ridiculous extreme over here. Both Bakari Sellers and Michael Eric Dyson are for Biden. Again, Dyson's another one of those people, and I am glad that Jackson at least came out for Sanders, because him and Sanders have known each other since at least when Jackson ran for president. What was that, in 84, 88? I think might have actually been both of those years. But yeah, Dyson's another one of those people who will sit here and talk about the oppression of African Americans, all this stuff, and then he's going to support someone that put that same group in jail 20 years ago. But whatever. They don't care. They can't see the forest for the trees. Biden has been the most pro-Israel out of all the Democratic. Really, I thought that was Buddha trash. He was well, maybe he was second, but I guess Biden has a bigger record with that particular region. I'm usually still willing to give politicians the benefit of the doubt if we find out they supported Israel prior to Netanyahu's era, like before 96. So if you go and look at some politician that served in the 80s or 70s and they're like, we need to help out Israel, I'm not as into critiquing them over that, because it had different leadership. No, it's Biden, and Booker is actually more pro-Israel than Buddha trash. Booty trash. Hey, remember his healthcare plan is called Booty Care or Butt Care? Okay, they can hashtag strategy. Oh my god. These politicians are so stupid. Music Fiend went tired early. He went to sleep. He decided he wasn't gonna watch this stream, and we were like, "Yeah, I got my birthday gift, so let me let me run, let me vanish." He just explodes in a shower of mist. Yeah, Israel is really a lost cause at this point. I wish we could just ignore them. But America's got this thing about Israel and Saudi Arabia and just being in their behind all day long, backing them over everything they do. So I'll probably and I might try to talk about Israel and Syria and Saudi Arabia some more because they are two relevant and significant countries. I'm just sick of their leaders. They're so stupid, and the people over there just. I think I mentioned that like with Israel, they don't have what the U.S. has, where a lot of the younger voters are kind of progressive or not as bad as the older ones. But in Israel, they find out a lot of the younger voters actually are um, anti-Palestine and just awful as well. And that's why I was saying to that bimbo that was like things just get better. Like, no, they don't. If you've got the group of people who were hateful and bigoted raising the next generation, it's the same thing year after year, decade after decade, century after century, because it's the same crappy, antiquated, inept views transferring from one group to another. But again, it's just they don't listen. They want to believe stuff like that because it goes into their whole thing of things just magically improve. So I'll probably see about upload. I'll upload some stuff obviously throughout the week, and that'll be the maximum of all the work. Ruben, did you like the top 10 worst mothers of the decade upload, which YouTube was pissing me off with because first I had to go and delete a whole bunch of space on the computer, and then I had to sit here with them saying, "Oh, it's uploaded." Not really. Ha 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 ha. And then it finally was on here. So I hope that that was well received. Haven't watched it yet, but I'll watch it later today. Oh, I was so disappointed. I was because I knew I put the Victoria Martin story in there, the one which you had recommended, and I was like, oh yeah, this was something that's one of my subs had mentioned that I thought was notable. So I'm very disappointed in you. I don't even want to look at your avatar anymore. Turn my head. Hey, I'm gonna get that channel blocker where you could put people's channels on like a block list to where they don't even show up at all. And then that's gonna be Ruben's gonna be typing stuff and be like, did somebody write something? Okay, should Joe Biden have gotten mentioned in that list? Um no, because everyone on there either murdered their kid or injured them in some capacity. Like she's stupid, but she's not, you know, you probably won't see any political person on there, any person related to this because they do dumb stuff, but they're still not anywhere near as awful. Oh, that TN stream almost has 100 views, right? Even though it was glitching out. We're getting another chapter of Super in like what almost 2 weeks. So I'll be excited for that. Even though it's probably gonna suck because 57 was the rushed thing that it was. But yeah, that this stupid hashtag needs to die. I hope that all the people who use it realize that they are hypocrites. And they don't it's just people who don't stand for anything trying to grandstand. Oh, I won't support Sanders this November. Well, no matter who you nominate, there will be someone who doesn't want to vote for him because of whatever reason. But um, again, I try to criticize people based off of their positions because that is what matters about this stuff. No one should run for office unless they have positions that they think will not get implemented or not implemented in the right way under someone else. So when I'm over here reading stuff about you think this person's too old and like just get out of here with that. Because that's the whole reason we have a vice president. That if something happens to the president or the person top of the ticket, the one that they picked becomes the next one, or has takes over basically. So thank you for watching. I will. I might do a stream this week on Thursday or not Wednesday, but probably on Thursday. So I'll look forward for that and see you later.